vodka. And I wonder, can you guys guess what Matisse is playing? I'll give you 5 seconds. How long's 5 seconds? Is that 5 seconds? That's 5 seconds. That's good enough. You probably guessed right. If you've heard the name Matisse before, you know exactly what this lad likes to do. It is non-stop hop on that HRE. And this time against the Ruse. So this should be a fun one. Vodka, by the way, is no pushover. Vodka has actually been grinding up. Vodka was struggling a little bit a week or two ago. I think part of it is because he was bouncing a lot of AoE 2 gameplay still. But now, with his main account up at 232 games, with a 59% win rate, he's currently sitting 39th on the leaderboards, 1,758 elo. And I think he has, a second account, 170 games at 47th place. So you can see how competitive he is being. Meanwhile, Matisse has been having a teeter-totter back and forth. Currently sitting 92nd, 1,676 elo. But your boy grinds. 434 games played. Keep in mind, though, that the difference here is that while Vodka is engaging a lot more with Rus, with the, the Chinese, the Mongols, Matisse tends to almost always play HRE. I'm not going to say always. He does experiment a little bit, but most of his gameplay is like HRE. I wouldn't be surprised if I was to whip up his games recently, over 90% of them were just HRE. This guy is kind of one of the brainiacs. If you want to know about this Civ, right? Say you were a pro player getting ready to go to one of the bigger lands and Matisse wasn't at it, right? This would be the guy that you'd ask about HRE. This is the guy that you'd actually ask for a little bit of coaching from on the specifics of the Civ. Because he'll be able to just strat play the numbers. He'll be able to tell you the strategies. He'll tell you the weaknesses, the strengths. He's even ran through Reddit typing out very long posts, giving you important details around the melee meta, the power of horsemen, the nerfs, how that's actually ripple-on affected certain civs, etc., etc. And that's why it's always fun to see the way he opens up. So Prelate did get the buffs out on the food, and then he's already across onto the gold. Remember, Prelate, because it costs that 100 gold initially, you're taking away your starting resources, so you actually need to ramp up your gold quicker to replace what is now missing. And the cool thing is that the food is almost ready for him. Gold is going to catch up, and he should actually have a very synced up timing. I love this house, by the way. It's almost early scouting warning. Kind of a funky play, actually. I'm kind of intrigued to know what his thought process was with this entirely. Because I don't... Usually the way you use the houses, by the way, guys, is you want to build them on the way towards your important building, like a mining camp, right? Or a lumber camp. Or right next to where your village is already working. I think the concept for Matisse here is he's trying to space save. He wants a golden location for an Arkan Chapel probably here. And then what that'll allow him to do is he'll buff a wood line, a gold line, food lines here, food line here. Basically everything. This right here is the juicy location. And if he does that, what it means is that after this as well, because he hasn't placed houses here, when he transitions to farms later, if need be, he's got that extra space. It could also be to place the military infrastructure near the TC so you can build up initial army safely. We'll see, though. There it is. Arkan Chapel dropped right here, so you can place a mill, get the value of the deer and the berry bushes afterwards, as well as the wood line, the gold line. I like that he plays towards the back. A lot of players will play towards the forward wood line. The dangers of this is that you chip through that wood line, and you're basically pushing your villagers towards your front line. And that's always risky, especially when you're playing HRE, where you play quality over quantity. You don't TC boom early. You look to get to Imperial Age, and you look to actually boom up off the back of the Palace, which is essentially 4 TCs in one with a 75% quicker production rate of villagers at 25% the cost. And on the other side, Rus looking to boom up themselves. Golden Gate is underway. Will be constructed first, but remember, Matisse right now, his economy is more efficient. In fact, you can see gold, wood, food is higher for Vodka, but that's because he's not prioritizing gold at all, as they never do. But once you start boosting these again, once you start buffing them up, and once the Arkan Chapel is banked, you're going to just see the numbers spike and just skyrocket for Matisse. I don't think we're going to see any deviation, by the way. I think Vodka is going to just be playing your standardized build, right? Go for that Castle Age Rush. It's getting boring, I know. That's all we ever see. But no one's found anything more optimal, nothing better. And this is the meta right now. The only thing that's stopping HRE from being top tier, in my opinion, in this meta is, I'd say, Pro Scouts a little bit. I've already said I think they're on the second tier outside the top 3. They're able to compete somewhat. I think the big thing that's stopping them is a lack of a unique power spike upon Castle Age. If you're thinking about HRE is more about maybe Imperial Age timing than anything. So you don't get that same boon, right? And because most games are looking to ramp up around that 10-minute mark, you can see where the powerhouses are, right? China, Ruse. They're both prime examples of civs that have a very powerful timing around that mark. And then you've got crawling type civs like the Mongols that build a network that continues to gain value as the minutes go. HRE is just not that way. HRE, they can be. Usually it's because there's a good player manning them that sees a weakness in their opponent and the way they're opening the game and then exploits that. But if you're talking like average games, HRE's issue is their boom timing comes like 5 minutes later, I feel. The Rangers Cathedral gives you a lot of influx. You do get it just as fast as a Roost player gets their Castle Age, but then you have to bank relics, and then you have to get that draw in from the relics value, right? And then you talk about the Imperial Age timing. The Imperial Age timing is really where it kicks up, and that Imperial Age timing can be anywhere between 13 and 16 minutes on average. Let's say 14 to 16. 13 is if you're like blitzing it. Possible to go, I think maybe isn't the one the fastest like 12 or 11 minutes? I might not be right in that. I'd have to double check that fact. I haven't had one game that quick in a long time. But that kind of boom factor, what it essentially means is like you aim for that to really like spiral out of control. You don't have the same eco scaling. You have the prelate efficiency, but that only goes so far. If your opponent starts building their 2-3 TCs, by the 15-minute mark, they're starting to ramp up value. So then you're playing for that 20-minute mark. And if you're up against a player like the Roost Civ, right, the Roost Civ is going to be playing for an end about like 20 minutes most games, and that's the big difference. Nice move out by the scouts. We know that Matisse likes this opening straight into the stables regularly. If you haven't caught Matisse before, I believe we've seen him do some stable rushes. We've also seen other players like Hut engage in that, where you can go for like a quadruple stable rush. The whole concept is you play into knights aggressively. I don't expect knight spams, but if he goes for stable spamming, he could easily go into horseman in this game to counteract exactly what Vodka is going to be bringing to the fights. And then that could kind of cover him to then shift in towards like, you know, Mangonels to assist or go into some archers to back it up. We have seen a lot more HRE players engaging with the archery range compared to like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it was almost just taboo to get an archery range. If you built one, you're like any HRE player watching you was shocked, gas face, snobbish nose up, and was sipping their tea with their monocle almost falling off right into their tea. That was the state of things. They were just like this, and then all of a sudden they noticed that they splash, coffee, tea, whatever it is, goes everywhere. Now it's more accepted. We've seen actually against the Rus, especially, it can be amazingly effective because the whole concept around archery range spam is that because of that quick Imperial Age time we were talking about, if you can actually weather the storm and reach that point, then you are likely to be at Imperial Age much sooner than Roost player, because Roost players, they go passive income, they don't actively seek gold, and their passive income is slower than the Regnitz Cathedral full up of relics for the HRE. It means that you hit that timing, that tech up, you get superior tech, you get the elite archers, and all of a sudden they're able to actually very effectively trade out against the horse archers. There's the Regnitz Cathedral anyway. Vodka already underway. Is going to beat him up to the Castle Age. And remember, this is an important religious race, right? Something we haven't talked about yet is the location of the relics. The relics do slightly, ever so slightly, favor Matisse. The problem Matisse has is that he's going to be up against those mobile, very quick warrior monks. There's warrior monks that are able to run down at the speed of cavalry and gather up these relics. So really, I think Matisse, if he wants to have the edge here, should have been pushing prelates, which he's now starting to do. He needs to move them quickly. And he's already got one moving out. Now remember, this is somewhat dangerous against a lot of opponents because you don't have anything defending you. The good news is quite often against the Roost player, if you're quick enough, it doesn't matter. The problem is, I don't think he anticipated the 8:15 timing. I think he was expecting an 8:30, which meant that he would have this prelate out in timing to pick up this relic as he completes his tech up. Now, you're maybe a bit paranoid that by the time you're going for your second relic, before, with this anticipation of an 8:30 timing, you would have been somewhat protected. Now, you're going to have to find a way to guard that unit when it moves out for the second relic pickup. Okay, so Matisse moving out. Scouts moving about. Su, he has got a few carcasses underneath here. Remember that he moved the prelate out of this, right? Because he's shifting across to the back now. This is a fine play. You sacrifice slight economy now for huge gains. And it's even more important in the Roost matchup because the Roost player wants to have access to those relics as well. So not only are you boosting your gold economy by 300, in this specific matchup, you have to think about it as a 400 deficit, right? In a lot of matchups, yes, you're taking away 100 gold per minute from an opponent. But a lot of those opponents don't engage with it, so it's not really that important to do it quickly. But against a Roost player, that extra 100 gold per minute, they would have it within the first 2 minutes. So taking it away is very important. And there we go, archery range. Quadruple archery range. This is to outpace your opponent. Remember, the difference in production speeds. It's 15 seconds compared to the 22. You're going to have the economy to support this. And also, this should allow you to save up a lot of gold in the meantime. Could prep you for a very quick Imperial Age timing. And then we talk about Leech Archers again, which we brought up before, which easily compete up against these Horse Archers that, you know, don't hit that power time of Imperial Age for much longer due to the fact that Roost players don't scale the same way. Moving out too late. Matisse has done it. Yeah. Okay, this one's going to be contested, and this is somewhat problematic. Oh, he's going to be forced to the wall. He needs to get across now, and he's moving the army. Yeah, he's committing. So this is smart. He's waiting until he's probably around 30 health, and then he wants to go ahead and use the Wololo. He can take one more stab, and then he needs the Wololo. In fact, no, I think he just keeps running now, right? Yeah, they might be close enough. Even if you die, you should at least kill it. Oh, no, Matisse, he stopped. He stopped moving. However, Vodka wasn't quick on the micro, so Vodka should end up losing out. It's going to be tight. But I think he's getting away with this, and that's frustrating. That's 300 gold per minute stripped away from you. A little bit frustrating, actually, because if he kept moving that, if he was quick to micro that, I think he actually gets it back in range, and then Vodka loses the Warrior Monk. But Warrior Monk's 190 health, just an absurd unit, being almost the same price as his Prelates, remember. 100 gold compared to the 100 gold and 20 food. I'd happily pay an extra 20 food for this mobility and the tankiness, as well as the ability to fight. This unit is just too good. Now the Horse Archers moving in. They smell weakness, but not for long. They will be forced away by almost an equal number of archers. Remember, independently, these trade very well. 12 damage on the Horse Archers compared to the 5. But the whole concept, right, is you haven't even gone up to Vet yet. And also, you're looking for, like, blacksmiths into that later timing of Imperial Age where you'll be able to match up again. But definitely frustrating for the moment, missing out on that third relic. So 300 gold treacle as they run all the relics back compared to the 600. Really interesting spawn here on the relic, actually. I mean, this one is rigged, guys. In fairness, the central one was a little bit closer to Matisse, but this one is filthy. Not even on the outskirts, just literally on the inside, on top of a mountain right next to the Roost player. You kind of look back at this later as an HRE player and you call for refunds, right? Outrageous. So, back in the mix, Matisse. How many researchers now? Okay, I like the second blacksmith. I think he needs all the techs he can get quickly. You want to be able to research marching drills as you're getting your hands on the iron undermesh. It's very important here. The extra mobility on these archers is going to be the world of difference. Up to like 1.36 or 32, I think it is. Movement speed is going to mean you're easily able to kind of gap close on the Horse Archers with their superior 1.62 movement speed. Now Vodka, trying to get that extra gold treacle. If he gets all three of these sacred sites, not only does he force Matisse to come out and pressure, he also ensures that he gets equal gold treacle to that of the HRE player. Very big deal. Matisse now into balanced projectiles and is going for the marching drill. So doesn't even care about the undermesh. Kind of understandable to a certain extent. It's not a priority because when there's this many Horse Archers against you, even when your opponent's microing, he's going to be firing surplus arrows at each independent target. So it's not worth it to get that one range resistance when you're probably still going to lose each individual unit, right? It's going to be all three taken. Wall's now going up, preventing the flanks. Trying to funnel his opponent. If he loses the fight, he wants to be able to actually fall back to a choke point and make sure Vodka doesn't overwhelm him. Eco count right now is too different. Remember, Matisse, the thing we often talk about, that inspiration, right? It's a 40% buffer. So you actually have to add 40% onto the number of villagers to get an equal kind of matchup. So if the gold is equal on the trickle rather from the sacred sites and the relics, you have to consider that there's still like, well, it was 40% here. 16 villager advantage for Matisse right now. And Vodka isn't scaling, by the way. Instead, he's switching into stables. I love this. This is going to be unexpected by Matisse. Matisse, one thing you have to highlight here is he hasn't been scouting, right? This one guy has been sneaking in recently, but he hasn't got eyeballs on this. I don't think he saw any of this infrastructure going down. It happened after he circulated out the scout. So unless he runs in the next half a minute, he's going to be ambushed by several horsemen in this primary engagement. This engagement that's coming soon, by the way, because remember, the clock started about a minute or so ago with the sacred sites. And it does take 10 minutes, so you've got a finite amount of time to push out, and it won't be enough time to try and scale up into that Imperial Age that you'd be comfortable doing. Instead, you're going to have to fight now. It looks like he might have an inkling. Maybe he did get eyeballs slightly on one of the stables, because look at this play. Straight into the racks, and he's going straight into the spearman. He's not going for the man-at-arms. He's not baiting himself in there. He's not going for that quality, right? He realizes if the gold trickle is even, you need to just get that bang for buck solution, and Spearmen are going to be exactly that. Remember, they got their damage buffed up against heavy units. They're going to be effective if they ever gap close onto the Horse Archers, and they're going to eliminate both Knights and Horsemen, and it is going to be the Knights coming out from Vodka. Interesting choice as opposed to the Horsemen, considering you don't have unlimited gold treacle here, right? And he has got 5 of these producing Knights. This will drain up quickly. He needs to actually think about switching to like Horseman production with some of these. For the moment, able to push them out. Crossbows as well. Yeah, Matisse completely read this. This is actually impressive. A lot of players, like, you might anticipate possibly a Horseman, but Knights is less expected. I think Knights aren't being done as frequently as like Horsemen with this composition. Usually it's like Scouts or Horsemen, but the Knights played by Vodka, it's not going to be a surprise attack. Matisse is ready. And right now, if they were to clash at this point, I would favor Matisse's composition over that of Vodka's. The only difference is if one of them goes for siege weapons, right? And so far, nobody's showing signs of going into siege weapons. Mangonels could make the big difference. And you can already see that Matisse is prepped to build them. He just hasn't invested yet. Just more of these stables. This is getting a little bit ridiculous right now. Remember also that efficient economy we talked about for the HRE does mean that Matisse is going to be able to push out more units from more buildings, right? He's just kind of choosing not to. You can see he's got a little bit of surplus. Vodka is just bleeding himself dry right now. I think Matisse is trying to save surplus for the siege weapon units. So Scout trying to get eyeballs on. We'll only find the Horse Archers, though. So far, the Knight numbers have remained hidden from Matisse. But Matisse, he knows he's going to have to come out soon. Needs to be careful. There is a Wooden Fortress here. He's going to force his opponent to try and react, though. I like how he's keeping right on the edge here. Needs to be careful. He's getting in range. Whoopsie-daisy. You just want to decap without sacrificing your army. You want to bait your opponent into the open here. And he does see him now. So we'll back up for the moment. And he gets the info. That's full info gathered, right? No casualties just yet either. Backs up, has got a few spearmen. Needs to get them into the mixer here, in the front line. Knights trying to clash against this. It's not going to be good for them, though. Remember that extra damage from these veteran spearmen as well as the crossbowmen shredded through them. In the meantime, the archers, they prioritize onto the Horse Archers, and it looks like Matisse, he's going to win this one at this rate. Or is he? Starting to bounce back a little bit. The spearmen, they're being depleted too quick. He is on the home field, so remember, he has the advantage to bring the spears in quickly into this fight. Crossbowmen really making the difference. The Knights trying to get rid of all these archers, but the Horse Archers falling just as quickly as the foot infantry are. And it looks like he's sacrificing this army right now. There he is. More Knights coming in. He's actually giving up the archers to try and keep the crossbowmen alive, and you can see the Horse Archers prioritizing out most of these crossbowmen first to keep the Knights in the fight. And Vodka, well, I think Matisse is going to have to drink some of that right now because he's got to drown his sorrows. He's lost the army. He's lost the main engagement. He's failed to move out in the sacred sites. And with that push-in, with that wraparound, with that willingness to sacrifice a few to get access to that archer line, he has indeed ran him through, and the Knights will make the difference here. Not enough spears coming out from Matisse will give Vodka the edge, and it looked good for a moment, but Matisse, he really needed to be up at 4 of these racks. 4 racks, pushing out spearmen. I think he has the quantity required, and he definitely had the surplus to support this. Maybe even a Mangonel could have made the difference, but instead, forcing this uncomfortable situation where he's switching over to the farms means that he cannot field out enough troops, and it means he cannot win this one out. It will be Vodka taking the win in the end. And one way to do it, by the way, I want to give him credit, because I think a lot of players bait themselves into Horse Archers only there. You have the static defenses. You have control of the sacred sites. You could just win this on the back of that, right? And because you have that element, a lot of players in that situation will just spam Horse Archers and maybe Scouts. I thought Horsemen would be the way. I will give him credit. Knights absolutely slam dunked it here. The veteran Spearman count was just unimpressive. It was basically the same as the Knights. And while Spearmen did get buffed, yes, in equal numbers, it's not going to be impressive, especially with Horse Archers at the back of the Roost player. So I think maybe a trick miss from Matisse. Matisse, he was definitely forced in an uncomfortable situation having to transition at the moment he was into farms. And I think if this drags out another 2-3 minutes, it's a different game. But the problem he has is he has to play on those sacred sites. And I think that's the edge that you have to give over. Something that Roost is so good at, courtesy of how mobile the religious units are, right? They shift out, they take control of those sacred sites, they force an uncomfortable situation where you come out. And because of that timing being around the switch over to farms, it just means that your economy, even as an HRE player, is in the dirt at that stage. And that costs him the win here and gives the win over to Vodka with an amazing composition of Horse Archers and Knights. So really well played by him. But I think we're going to bring this to a round out at this point. If you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me across on all the links below so you can catch what is coming up. If you haven't already made your way through it, there is already going to be playlists across on the YouTube side of things. I think I don't know how many now, 130, 140, I've lost count. There's loads of videos. Go watch me ramble and Theorycraft about more Age of Empires. There's plenty there. And make sure you subscribe to the channels. But thank you for watching.